In this episode, we bring together three of the most common and important attack ideas that new learners need to understand early: social engineering, malware, and phishing. These are not rare or exotic threats that only affect highly technical environments. They are everyday attack methods that succeed because they target normal business activity, ordinary human trust, and the routine use of devices, email, files, and websites. For someone studying for the Certified Information Systems Auditor (CISA) exam, this topic matters because many real incidents begin not with a dramatic technical breakthrough, but with a person being misled, a file being opened, or a message being trusted too quickly. Once you understand how these attacks work at a high level, you can start to see how organizations reduce risk through better awareness, stronger controls, and faster response. The goal is not to make every learner suspicious of everything all the time. The goal is to make common attack patterns easier to recognize so that trust, convenience, and speed do not quietly become the very tools an attacker uses against the organization. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyberauthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A useful place to start is with the bigger picture of what an attack method really is. An attack method is simply the way an attacker tries to achieve a harmful goal, whether that goal is stealing information, disrupting operations, gaining unauthorized access, or tricking someone into sending money or approving a request. Attackers are usually looking for the easiest path, not the most impressive one. If they can avoid fighting directly through well-designed technical defenses by persuading a person, exploiting weak software, or abusing normal business habits, they often will. That is why these three topics belong together. Social engineering focuses on manipulating people. Phishing is one of the most common delivery methods for that manipulation, and malware is often the harmful result or payload that follows. When you see them as connected parts of one risk pattern, the subject becomes easier to understand. Instead of memorizing isolated definitions, you begin to recognize a chain of events in which trust is abused, action is triggered, and technical harm follows. Social engineering is the broadest of the three ideas because it is based on influencing human behavior. Rather than breaking a lock directly, the attacker tries to convince someone to open the door. That influence may involve urgency, fear, curiosity, authority, helpfulness, or routine business language that makes the request feel normal. A social engineering attempt might come through email, text message, phone call, video meeting, social media, or even an in-person conversation. The exact form can change, but the core method stays the same. The attacker is trying to get a person to do something they would not normally do if they had more time, more context, or a clearer warning sign. This is why social engineering is so effective in busy organizations. People are often moving quickly, trying to be responsive, and assuming that familiar-looking communication is legitimate unless something clearly stands out as wrong. Attackers know that pressure, politeness, and routine can be stronger than technical skill when the goal is to influence a decision in a single moment. To understand social engineering more clearly, it helps to focus on the psychological levers attackers often pull. They may create urgency by saying a payment must be made immediately or a password must be reset before access is lost. They may create authority by pretending to be a senior leader, a vendor representative, a customer, or a help desk employee. They may create curiosity through an unexpected attachment, a promised document, or a message about a private issue that seems too important to ignore. They may also use helpfulness by asking an employee to assist with a simple task that seems harmless on the surface. None of this requires the attacker to write complex code first. It requires them to understand how people behave under pressure and how organizations communicate in daily life. A simple example might involve a fake invoice request that looks believable because it uses ordinary business language and references a real supplier name. The message succeeds not because the target is careless in a general sense, but because the request fits so smoothly into the rhythm of normal work. Phishing is one of the most familiar forms of social engineering, but it is worth treating carefully because many beginners reduce it to a narrow idea about suspicious email. Phishing is really an attempt to deceive someone through a message that appears legitimate, usually in order to steal information, deliver malware, or cause the recipient to take an action that benefits the attacker. Email is common because it is fast, cheap, and deeply embedded in business communication, but the same pattern can appear through text messages, collaboration tools, social platforms, and fake login pages. What makes phishing powerful is not just the message itself. It is the way the message borrows trust from familiar brands, coworkers, vendors, or normal business processes. A phishing message might ask the user to click a link, open a file, verify account details, approve a payment, or enter credentials into a page that looks almost correct at first glance. The attack works by blending deception into routine communication so well that the recipient acts before fully evaluating what is happening. Phishing is especially dangerous because it often looks ordinary rather than dramatic. Many people imagine that a phishing message will be full of obvious spelling mistakes or strange language, but real attacks are often much more polished than that. Some are generic and sent to thousands of people, while others are carefully tailored to a specific organization, role, or individual. A finance employee may receive a realistic request related to invoices or banking updates. A manager may see a note that appears to come from an executive needing quick help. A new employee may receive a message that seems to relate to onboarding or benefits. Attackers often study public information, company structure, and communication style so that their messages fit the environment more closely. This is why phishing is not only about spotting sloppy fraud. It is about recognizing when a message creates unusual urgency, requests sensitive action, bypasses normal approval paths, or asks the user to trust a link, file, or instruction more quickly than good judgment should allow. Malware is different from social engineering and phishing because it refers to harmful software or harmful code rather than the manipulative communication that delivers it. The word itself covers many types of malicious behavior, but the simple beginner idea is that malware is software designed to do harm, hide unwanted activity, steal information, disrupt systems, or give an attacker unauthorized control. Some malware steals passwords or browser data. Some locks files and demands payment. Some creates remote access for an attacker. Some spreads across systems quietly while gathering information or waiting for a later command. The exact form may vary, but the purpose is never benign. Malware matters to CISA learners because it turns a moment of exposure into a technical problem that can affect confidentiality, integrity, and availability all at once. Once harmful code reaches a device or system, the organization may face data loss, service interruption, unauthorized transactions, or a much larger compromise than the original message or click first suggested. It is also important to understand that malware does not usually appear out of nowhere. It often arrives through a pathway that began with trust, convenience, or weak control. A user may open a malicious attachment, click a link that triggers a harmful download, install software from an untrusted source, or use a compromised website that delivers code behind the scenes. In other cases, malware may spread because a system has an unpatched weakness or because an attacker already obtained access and then placed harmful tools inside the environment. This is where the connection between the three topics becomes very clear. Social engineering shapes the human decision. Phishing provides a believable message or delivery path, and malware may be the technical result that follows. Even when malware is not the end result, the same attack pattern often aims to steal credentials, session access, or sensitive data through the same manipulative opening. The lesson for beginners is that attacks often succeed through combination. The human layer and the technical layer work together, which means defenses also have to work together. A common real-world pattern begins with a message that seems routine and harmless. The recipient sees what looks like a shared document, an account notice, a missed voicemail, a shipping update, or a request from a colleague. Because the message fits something they might reasonably expect, they engage with it before pausing to verify the details. That action may lead them to a fake login page that captures credentials, or it may open a file that installs harmful software, or it may simply confirm to the attacker that the account is active and responsive. Once access or malware is in place, the attacker may expand their reach, steal more information, or wait for a better moment to act. This chain matters because it shows why common attack methods are so dangerous. They do not need to look dramatic at the start. The first step may seem small and ordinary, yet it can lead to broad consequences across finance, operations, customer trust, and incident response efforts if the organization does not detect and contain the problem quickly. Several misconceptions make these attack methods harder to defend against. One common mistake is believing that only careless or untrained people fall for them. In reality, even experienced employees and technical staff can be misled when attackers use good timing, familiar context, and believable language. Another misconception is that malware always causes obvious damage immediately. Some harmful code is designed to be noisy, but some is designed to stay quiet so the attacker can keep access longer. A third misconception is that phishing is always easy to recognize if you just look for bad grammar or suspicious formatting. Modern phishing often looks polished enough that the real warning signs are hidden in the request itself, not in the writing quality. There is also a tendency to think these attacks come only from outside the organization, when in fact compromised internal accounts, abused vendor relationships, and misuse of trusted communication channels can make the messages look even more believable. Good understanding begins when learners accept that ordinary appearance is often part of the attack. Because these threats are connected, organizations defend against them through layers rather than through one perfect control. Awareness matters because people need to recognize suspicious patterns and feel comfortable pausing instead of reacting instantly. Access control matters because stolen credentials and compromised accounts become less damaging when permissions are limited appropriately. Secure configuration and patching matter because malware often takes advantage of weak software conditions after the first point of entry. Filtering and monitoring matter because some dangerous messages, files, and behaviors can be detected before they spread further. Backups matter because some malware tries to destroy access to important information, and recovery becomes much harder when backup practices are weak. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, matters because a stolen password alone becomes less useful when another proof of identity is required. None of these controls removes risk entirely, but together they reduce the chance that one deceptive message turns into a major organizational event. User behavior in the first few minutes of suspicion can make a major difference. If a message feels unusual, the safest action is usually to slow down, verify through a trusted path, and avoid treating urgency as proof of legitimacy. If a strange attachment has already been opened or a suspicious link has already been clicked, early reporting matters much more than embarrassment. People sometimes delay telling anyone because they hope nothing happened or because they do not want to admit a mistake, but that delay can give attackers more time to spread or hide. Strong organizations try to build a culture where quick reporting is seen as responsible behavior, not as a reason for automatic blame. That approach improves the security posture because early awareness helps containment, investigation, and recovery. For beginners, this is an important mindset shift. Security is not only about never making a mistake. It is also about recognizing that fast, honest escalation can sharply reduce harm when something suspicious or harmful has already begun. From an audit point of view, these common attack methods matter because they test whether the organization's controls work together in the real world. An auditor may review security awareness efforts, phishing reporting processes, endpoint protection, privileged access restrictions, patch management, email filtering, incident response procedures, logging, backup readiness, and the handling of suspicious events. The goal is not simply to confirm that each control exists in a policy document. The deeper question is whether the organization has built a practical environment in which manipulation is harder to pull off, harmful activity is easier to notice, and recovery is possible when prevention fails. Evidence matters here because organizations often believe they are well prepared until a phishing event or malware incident exposes weak reporting habits, excessive access, or poor response coordination. CISA learners should therefore see social engineering, phishing, and malware not just as threat terms, but as useful windows into overall control effectiveness. These attacks reveal whether people, process, and technology truly support one another under pressure. Common attack methods should feel much more understandable and much less like a collection of disconnected scary terms. Social engineering is the manipulation of human judgment. Phishing is a common deceptive delivery method, and malware is one of the harmful outcomes that may follow when trust is abused. The most important lesson is that attackers often win by making malicious activity look routine, familiar, or urgent enough that a person acts before thinking. That is why strong defenses combine awareness, verification, limited access, secure systems, good monitoring, and fast reporting rather than depending on any single barrier. For the CISA learner, this topic is valuable because it shows how real incidents grow from small openings into larger business problems, and it highlights why auditing must examine the full control environment instead of treating human behavior and technical safeguards as separate worlds. When you understand how these attack methods connect, you are much better prepared to evaluate how organizations reduce the risk they create every single day.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.